Hey, Will, what are you doing?
I'm grabbing a glass of wine, man.
Brother, you know we have a podcast to do.
I know, I'm trying to keep from spilling this wine. Hey friends, this is Will.
Hey everyone, this is Michael.
And welcome to We Know Texas Vino.
Cheers. All right. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back. We're here in a beautiful part of Texas. We're excited to have another podcast. Will, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. So we're back here for episode 11. Can you believe that's happening already?
You know, it just seems like yesterday we just did episode 1.
I know. And so you were just talking earlier during our pregame, really, we've been doing this for 2 months and already
3 months.
2 months. And we're into our third month, right?
Yeah. So actually January 8th when we did our first episode.
That's amazing. Well, we're episode 11 right now,
yes.
And we're going to have a great time today. So, Will, we're drinking some wine right now. Why don't we introduce our
yes.
friends here real quick and talk about the wine we're drinking for
yes.
episode 11?
So we're at Deschain
Deschain
Winery.
Yeah.
You know, every time we go to a new winery, we always mess it up.
Well, you're such a West Texas boy. You got some sort of twang going on there anyway. So I think that's kind of fun. I'm more of a contemporary, you know.
Yes.
Yeah,
you
right.
More of the radio voice.
That's right.
I don't.
So Deschain Cellars. That's
Cellars,
right.
Yes.
We're here with Willem, like Willem Dafoe. That's a big thing. And Kristen, is that correct?
That's correct.
So good to see you guys.
Yeah, welcome here.
Thanks for coming to join us today.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us here.
What are we drinking here? I know we have some red wine, and you guys have a delicious white wine. And what are we drinking here today? Do you know what we're drinking?
I do not know what you're drinking.
I understand it came from your 21 batch. You just bottled it. So it's a 21.
Oh, that's the 2021 Unchained.
Ooh, the Unchained. That's right.
Oh.
So your staff out there described it to me, and I immediately went there because I have to try it because it was recently bottled. So tell us about this, what I'm drinking.
That was a happy accident. The first vintage that I made, we had a little bit too much of this, a little bit too much of that. So I put them together in a barrel, and it just took off. That's 60-40 Petit Verdot Malbec.
Ooh, that sounds good.
So,
and you know, Will,
yeah.
I am a Malbec nutcase, so I do enjoy my Malbec.
It depends on your mood because some days you said you're on Chiral nut too.
I am that as well. So I'm just kind of a nutcase in general. And then what are you drinking, Will? The same?
I am drinking an oak barrel.
Okay. So Chris, why don't you tell us about the oak barrel?
Well, Willem has a winemaking style that he learned in Europe, and he uses a lot of neutral wood, whereas like a lot of California winemakers use brand new wood all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have people who come in here who have more of a palate for wines that are heavy on the wood. And so we have some of our Zinfandel. We have the Reserve Zin, which is aged in that small barrel that you guys probably saw them take it out of. And that imparts a lot more wood flavor in our Zin as compared to our normal Zin, which is neutral wood.
Well, I'm enjoying mine. Are you enjoying yours, Will?
Yeah. Does this tell you I'm
okay, go. Let's see. Everybody watch. We have no video, but slurp, slurp, slurp. Just like a good West Texas boy right there. Very good. And how about you two? What are you drinking today? Willem, what are you drinking?
This is our 2021 Viognier.
Viognier. Okay.
Viognier.
That's very popular now. I know Viogniers are just spreading across this state big time.
Yeah.
People are loving it.
Yeah, one of my favorite grapes. One of my favorite grapes to drink, and one of my favorite grapes to vinify. It's a ton of fun.
That looks great.
Really?
Yeah, it looks clear.
So what do you jump rope with each other or?
From time to time.
Jump rope? That's funny.
I mean, he said he plays with it, so I thought maybe jump rope and hopscotch. You know?
Only jumping in the bins. We got to crush the fruit somehow.
That's right. Glass of Viognier, jump in the bins.
Hey,
that's our philosophy here,
doing that
which we'll learn a lot about. So
not as far as you can tell.
Yeah, we're excited to be here, you guys. This is going to be so much fun. So we're having a great time with this great couple here, and so we're going to get after this here, but we're glad to be back, and it's been going real well. Well, I want to give you some kudos real quick. You've been working really hard on our equipment and our technology, and I know already I think our sound is twofold better than it was from our first couple podcasts. So really appreciative of that and grateful that you're willing to pay the price and get out there and do that for us and for this podcast.
Appreciate it. I really love doing this podcast. I do this because, well, actually, you and I both do this because we want to showcase Texas wine.
That's right.
We want to let the people know that there are some good wineries out there. Mm-hmm. You just don't want to go to the ones that are in the downtown. You want to go to the ones that are out in the country.
Remote. And we're here in Gainesville. Is that correct, you guys? We're in Gainesville, Texas right now.
Are we like incorporated Gainesville? Or
unincorporated Gainesville. We're in the country.
This is actually in the country.
Yeah, this is country. Yeah. Gainesville's that away, right over there. So, well, cool. Will, how can people find us?
Well, you can find us on Facebook at We Know Texas Vino. You can also find us on your podcasting applications like iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher and Pandora and wherever you listen to your podcast.
That's right. And so that's going really well. And I know you were really excited this past week. We published a really nice podcast, and it was pretty great response right out of the gate.
Yeah, I wanted right quick, just again, Mark already knows this, but Mark, thanks for the episode for the vets.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, folks. The vets. It was an amazing time with them.
Yeah, that was a wonderful time. And really, all of our podcasts have been extraordinary. We've had so many great people. And so we're going to introduce these two even more thoroughly right now because they've had a great attitude. They welcomed us in here with open arms. We're ready to learn from them. Pardon?
They welcomed you in?
They with high fives. Yeah, it was a high five situation.
Where's my high five?
Well, you walked in with an attitude.
Every once in a while, we got to welcome, the riffraff.
Okay. Well, Willem and Kristen, so we're glad to have you guys here. We're going to really showcase what you have going on here. So really, it's all about you guys for the next few minutes, but we're going to ask some questions and have a good time. If you guys have any thoughts you want to share, please just go for that. And my guy here, he's just my color guy. We're going to have some fun today, are we, Will?
I brought my crayons today.
You brought your crayons. Well, cool. So tell us about what you have going on here, Willem. Great location. Tell us where we are like right now. We're in a great special room.
We're actually in the cellar.
We're in the cellar.
We're in the wine cellar right now. It's a little cool outside today. Our crazy Texas weather has not been cooperating very much for the last couple of years.
For the last couple of years.
But the cellar is actually the most temperate place we could sit today.
Yeah, it's a great place. And so I'm looking around, and if you were to describe this is like the workstation to me. This is like where it all happens.
This is actually where it all happens.
Yes, sir. And you said a couple things to me. We're doing. I call it pregame. I'm an old dumb jock. I'm an old athlete, so I call it pregame. But you told me earlier that you're kind of a one man show back in here. Is that correct?
Right now. I'm busy.
Yes.
One arm paper hanger.
Yeah.
Wow.
Kind of busy. We're in bottling season right now, so that's we're open Thursday through Sunday. So that leaves Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to come in the cellar and really get stuff done.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you're a one-man show, I'm sure you have people helping here and there, of course. But you're in here how many hours a day on that Monday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Monday's kind of an office day.
Okay.
Because there's a business side that we got to keep up with.
Absolutely.
And Kristen owns her own company, so she comes in and helps out on the weekends and markets this place to the nth degree. That's the only reason that anybody knows we're here is because of her. It makes for some interesting Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I bet it does, yeah. Getting up here first thing in the morning and working and then driving home anywhere from 8 to 10 at night.
Well, I think you would probably agree that most of the winemakers that we've met said this. It's not some sort of little hobby. It is a real big boy or big girl's job. You get out here and you're working your tail off every day. Yeah,
very few people really have any idea of what it takes to get grape juice on a bottle, and from vine to venue. To put that wine in a bottle and then get it to your glass is it's a lot of work. Barrels aren't light. The average dry barrel, 60-gallon barrel, weighs about 155, 160 pounds.
I just learned that. I did not.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those in my house.
Yes, you do. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So we get in here and we're getting after it this week. We're going to finish bottling up our new dessert wine. We did a limited run because we've been having a tough time getting glass.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, we kind of heard that.
That sounds familiar.
Roxanne, but a few people are out.
Logistically, getting supplied now is problematic.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Yeah. And then more about this room, though. You built this facility, this amazing tasting room out of what? I mean, if you could describe it to our listeners, where are we? What is this? What's going on here?
We're sitting in a 1,600 square foot concrete dance floor room that the walls are made out of shipping containers.
Shipping containers?
Decommissioned shipping containers.
I'll be darned.
I've been looking at these things for the last 18 or 20 years before we built this place. And it's just such a waste. They come over here and we don't, there's not a lot of people buying enough things to ship them back full. Mm-hmm. And they're too expensive to ship empty. Mm-hmm. So they just get abandoned here and they've been piling up for decades. Mm-hmm. And they're perfect for construction, for building. They're sturdy, they're watertight, they're windtight. And I actually designed this incarnation of the winery on a cocktail napkin in Torchy's Tacos in West Plano.
You have got to love that. See, when we dig deep into these wineries and the ownership, it's so funny how these things spark.
Well, I mean, he did say one thing that made me happy was tacos.
Yeah.
Did you see
the Torchy Tacos?
Everybody at the table smiled as soon as the word taco came up.
Yeah, right.
It was actually the Torchy's teenies, though, that were the inspiration.
Kristen is the specific. She has specifics behind the scenes stuff. Yes.
Right. Don't tell them all our secrets.
Yeah, really. Well, we're hoping to dig into a few of them today. It's like unique, and when my wife and I were walking up here today. This first thing we noticed was how unique this place was.
Yes.
And then Kristen had mentioned it as well. So Kristen, you guys have a great shop here. It's pretty fun. It's unique.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of the perfect word, Will, for that. It's
unique
super.
is actually unique.
You like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
unique is perfect.
So it's
because
unique.
It's not your typical brick and mortar location where you show up and it's wood decor and kind of a Western theme or anything like that.
Or over commercialized or something like that.
Yeah,
something
and
like
you walk up and it's kind of like, okay, you look at it for just a second, you're like,
yeah,
okay, what am I looking at here? And it's kind of, I'm not a really art person, but I'm going to say like kind of art deco-ish.
All right.
Am I correct on that to say that?
I could see that. I mean, I think the best term, if you can wrap your heads around it, is post-apocalyptic Old West.
Yes, that's exactly the word you put on your website. I read that on his website.
Yeah, right.
Because it's just when I was going through y'all's website and trying to figure everything out about y'all and stuff, I saw that and I was like, man, do I need to bring my little axe handle with a saw blade on the end of it?
You bring something to protect yourself. I don't know what's going on, but well, Kristen, you saw the napkin, you saw the diagram. You guys have been working on this. So, what is your role here? What are you doing here at this beautiful winery?
Well, I said absolutely not. We're not doing that because I thought it looked very complicated to execute. Well, it seemed easy, like Legos, but then
right.
I grew up in Albuquerque, and there's a really cool building there that's built out of shipping containers. And I called the owner of that building, and he said, people think that this looks really easy, but I just want to let you know it's not cheaper and it's not going to be easy. So then I got scared. But then it was so cool that I decided we should just go for it. And then we sort of set on this path to build this building. And I always tell people that come here and want to do this to call us because you can learn from our mistakes. We didn't listen to all the advice that we got because we thought we could figure it out better. And we should have listened to some of that advice because it was challenging to build this. Nobody who worked with us had ever built a building like this. So we were all learning on the job.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I thought you had reached out to the folks in Albuquerque. So you were given some advice, but you kind of neglected. It's like, we know better. We'll go do our own thing for a while.
Yeah, that won't happen to us.
Yeah.
Willem was
we learned a lot.
He's like, we'll just make these cutouts ourselves. And then we have another shipping container on the other end of the property that we were storing some barrels and stuff in. And we needed to put a vent in the top. And it took us like so long and so much vibration just to cut one hole in it. And I was like, there is no way we will executing this by ourselves.
That hole was about 11 inches by 11 inches.
And it took you how long?
The better part of an afternoon.
Oh, good. That's what people don't understand, though.
So did you do a cutting wheel or did you use a torch?
Oh, no, I was using a cutting wheel on a grinder at that point. And I don't know how much bronze they put in the steel, but it's a lot. These things are hard.
Yeah.
A plasma torch was ultimately the tool that was used.
I used to do construction, and when we would cut something like this, we would use a torch or a plasma torch.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's an impressive structure.
Yeah,
I mean, it's very well done, and everything looks straight and dynamic. So I'm pretty excited to be here for that and experience it because it's the first time I've ever been in a building like this.
I've heard of people, and I was just telling Michael this, that there's somebody like in Cincinnati or something like that had a corner lot to build a house on, and it wasn't big enough to put a house on, but they got a whole bunch of shipping containers and stacked them on top of it and made a multi-layer house using shipping containers.
Sure. Yeah.
And it was actually really cool.
Well, it's essentially what they've done here.
Yeah, it's exactly what we did here. And you're really only limited by our imagination.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can envision it from a Lego standpoint, right? And they don't necessarily go together just like Legos, even though they're supposed to.
Oh, no, they don't.
I was going to say, I don't see where they snap together here.
We only had one issue.
Okay.
There's one corner of the building up top that's about 3 inches out, and all the containers we lasered them before we bought them, made sure they're all square. But we were out 3 inches, so we just slap 6 inch angle line inside and outside and cover that gap. And
so probably I'm gonna guess the hardest part was getting them stacked together because you had to rent a big huge crane to.
Well, the guys that started doing the erection of the containers were awesome.
Okay.
And the first one they tried to do with a heavy forklift.
Wow.
And I mean, these are 40-foot high cubes. They weigh 5 tons a piece dry. So, you start getting that up off the ground, and the owner of the company was there guiding it, and he was the guy that almost got squashed. We didn't drop anything, but it started to wobble a little bit, and he's like, let's put that down and get a crane.
So I guess, are you excited that construction is complete now? Because it's something it was very challenging in a lot of unique circumstances, which were kind of dangerous.
It wasn't really horrible, but there were a couple of months right in the middle where we didn't like the building very much.
Okay.
It fought back a little bit. 3 weeks after we poured the pad, it's 18 inches nominal of concrete with with 24-inch grade beams in it, running through a crisscross in it. So it's a super strong floor.
Right.
But 3 weeks before we parked a 40-ton crane on it was not a lot of time.
Wow.
So as it was rolling up here to start putting the containers up, I'm sitting here, I'm just, don't break, don't crack, please don't do that.
Oh my goodness.
It was exciting though.
Yes.
It was so exciting to see all those containers on trucks coming in because we were seeing our vision become a reality. And then that giant forklift was pulling one of those off and it started teetering and we were all kind of trying to catch our breath. And he's like, this isn't going to work. And then luckily this guy who was doing this is just right down the street from us. He's like, I got to do something else. And I could hear this crane coming down, this huge crane. And it was sort of like a World War II movie where the tanks come in.
Yeah, you can hear them.
I was like, this is so exciting. Like we're going to get these off. And they got them all stacked within that one day. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, it didn't, once the crane showed up, it didn't take long to do.
Right.
And the guys were having a blast riding the containers up.
Oh, sure.
Because they put all the cable and hardware up there to set them up. And they're just riding them like they were surfing containers up on top of the.
No, my luck. I would go up and I would fall off.
Yeah, you've already hurt yourself once they set up the equipment, so no doubt that you would not survive that
That
task.
would be my luck too. That's why I was just watching from afar.
Right.
I'm going to stand on the other side of the road.
I heard 40 tons. So 8 containers. How many containers did you end up using here?
We used 10.
10 containers. All right. So
8 40-footers and 2 20s. That's where the garage door comes in.
I got you. Okay.
We got to leave room for that.
Yeah, we're here. You can't see us on, obviously, but we're on live. But we're looking around this amazing area here. And it was well done. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot. It's so unique. I love it. It's so much fun.
So now we got to talk about the building and stuff because honestly, I really like the building. So do y'all actually live here? Because I know it goes up higher, and I don't see those stairs outside.
Well, we can take a walk around afterwards. We've got right over the tasting room. We've got a deck up there.
Okay.
Open air deck. We close off in the winter with wedding wall tents.
Okay.
And it does pretty well except for the absolute coldest days.
Right.
But there's a spiral staircase to the third container that's behind me now.
It's that one right there.
Okay.
And it began its life as a small office. And then, in an effort to not drive back and forth every night and every day, we just converted it to a small apartment.
Okay.
So it's like a little tree house up there.
That's cool.
It's awesome
That's
because
what the
it's
curtains
got
are for.
no, that's it's the blue one up there. That's the apartment. That's storage in there.
Okay. When you said when I said the curtain out there, you said when you said the blue one, I was like, what blue curtain?
Well, really, our listeners have to be here to appreciate this, though, because it's actually kind of like a little maze, a little bit.
It is.
It was so
kind of cool. I like
Well, yeah, especially with the gentleman that was just looking for the restroom.
So for our listeners, right before we started this podcast, I thought maybe it was their son. I didn't know, but he walked in here with some startled eyes.
Yeah, I thought it was an employee
Looking for the restroom, and he ran into a podcast instead. So it was kind of fun.
It was pretty comical.
So,
All right,
Kristen, in addition to that, so what else do you do here? I know you do marketing and some other really important things.
We're pretty much a two-man show. I own a marketing company and I market elite orthopedic surgeons. So this has been a whole new thing to learn and fun. I book the bands and that's a passion of mine. But my part here is the hospitality piece. Not that Williem's not hospitable, but I love connecting people. I told him I wanted to have a convivial venue so that people could come. And a lot of people tell us we're kind of like Cheers.
Oh.
I say that we're the beacon for the cool people because we have just the coolest customers. And that's really been my strength here, I think, is planning events. We have a great chef. We're doing our first cooking class with her. We do 5-course pairing dinners. And so that's kind of the two of us pretty much luckily have the skills to do everything to run this place except for our servers. But someday we'd like to maybe not be doing everything ourselves.
Or delegate a little bit once you get a little bigger and a little bit more.
I think Kristen just put a want ad out.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have trust funds or anything. So this is a passion-driven business far more than a financially driven business.
Yeah. Well, and I think your strength here from the get-go is building community. We wanted to be a place that the entire town of Gainesville could come and hang out, or in all of North Texas, all of Texas.
Right.
I mean, Kristen's strength has really been building bridges between our different clients. We have the coolest clients on the planet.
They're the best.
We've got. I mean, our club members are the best people we have. they support us. They're the lifeblood of this winery. And Kristen is the one that has actually kind of created that sense of community, I think. And it comes from her marketing outreach.
Yeah, she's good. And if I can just get in for a minute, Willem, when I walked in and met her, I immediately knew there was some sort of marketing behind this girl. And she had great enthusiasm, great people skills, excellent communicator, and kind and fun. And so we knew there was a great, attribute to that individual that I met a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we've learned from talking to different wineries around here is that you cannot be a shop person. You absolutely cannot be a shop person.
Yeah, you have to have some sort of personality. Really, all of them have great personalities. Yeah. But I think Kristen in particular was just so outgoing and welcoming and those sort of things. That is really a great advantage at a winery, I think. And Williem, he is casting himself as a silent assassin behind the scenes doing these sort of things. Well, I just give you kudos. I mean, you were nothing but friendly and kind.
Yeah.
And I think you have phenomenal skills as well when it comes to relating with people. So don't cut yourself short, young man.
Well, I actually had to take over as the MC for our trivia night. We do Thirsty Thursday trivia. And I really never looked at myself as an MC at all, but it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, good.
He looked so miserable when I said, you're going to have to do this because I can't come up on Thursdays. And he was like, I just really do not think that's my wheelhouse, but everybody loves it. In fact, he had COVID at one point and I had to come up and run the Tipsy trivia. And I could see such a huge look of disappointment. I was like, I'm fun. I promise I'll be fun. But everybody missed Willem and they were very happy to have him back.
Willem. That's great. That's awesome.
I'll have to say also, I'm not a radio person at all. I don't have the radio voice like Michael does. But, doing this podcast, I have a blast doing this, and I didn't think I was going to really have a blast.
Just be yourself, right?
Yeah, just be yourself, and it's sometimes being myself is not a good thing.
That's right. That's what I love. That's why we compliment each other, but it's obviously you two compliment each other as well. Well, so let's shift gears one more time here because we really want to learn about what's going on here. So you have some great wines. We're drinking some great wines right now. I understand you've won some awards and some national, if not world, recognitions. You want to speak about that real quick? And don't be modest around here. Right?
No, I don't want to talk about that.
You don't want to talk about it. He's going to showcase. He wants to talk about the grounds. No. So what are you proud of, Willem? And and you should be proud of everything. But what's some things you want to talk
I'm
about?
actually proud that this building is standing.
Okay.
Drawing something out on a cocktail napkin in a bar somewhere, and then having it come to fruition is pretty cool. I'm really proud of the fact that we survived COVID. We opened the first week of October in 2020.
Wow.
And it was pretty scary. Yeah. We had no idea what to expect. I come from a lifetime hospitality background, and no idea what to expect. And every day was a pivot. That was our mantra. We pivot every day to make sure that we can react to market forces, health issues, people that were upset about, the whole masking issue in the country hit all of us up here pretty hard.
Absolutely. Yeah, one thing I've experienced in my life in business and marketing is that word pivot. I'm so proud of you for using it, because if you don't pivot, those are the folks who will not succeed, right? So you were able to do that. And you just mentioned it, but you mentioned it as well when I talked to you, that you guys started during COVID. That is a bold move.
Well, we didn't really have a choice.
Okay.
It's kind of like you're jumping off the cliff into the water, right? You know the water is warm enough, depending on the season. You're just hoping it's deep enough.
Right.
And once you're in free fall, there's no turning back. That's how we were.
But we were ready. The building was actually 6 months delayed, and the building was ready in March of 2020.
Okay.
Right when COVID happened. So we were like, we'll just wait this out. And then October rolled around and we realized we're going to have to start paying our loan. And we can't wait COVID out anymore.
Right.
So we had to look at what the rules were. Do we have, we have to have food. We have to be a restaurant. We had to figure all that out. We had to figure out we didn't have a kitchen planned. So there were a lot of things just to get open. But it actually was not bad once we opened, because things were kind of loosening up a little and everybody wanted to be outside.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of prompted, by March of 2021, we started doing our huge concert. Willem built that stage out there in a week.
Wow.
Because I put it on Facebook that he'd have it done by the concert, and he was like, "Don't ever do it."
Right there. I must have this done.
Yeah, it was either
swear not to do that. 7
days to build this to completely get that stage done, or I sleep on the couch for the rest of my life. So, needless to say, Blackout Betty took the stage that next Saturday.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Well, you guys did something that a lot of people wouldn't do because out of fears and out of concerns, those sort of things. But you did it, and that's pretty cool during a really turbulent time. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't go there. So you had mentioned that you had to prepare food, and is that the Texas law where you had to have 51% of your sales was the food, and so you guys had to make some major adjustments.
We did, and it only lasted about a month after we opened, and then we didn't need food anymore. But we were really lucky because Willem had a relationship with Sheena Croft. She was the founding and executive chef at Hannah's on the Square in Denton for 19 years.
Wow.
Denton really shut down, so she was furloughed at the time. So she came out here and put our menu together for us. And she's amazing, and she loves to forage. She's foraged this whole property. She's found chanterelle, mushrooms, morel, and about like 7 or 8 other varietals here. Wow. So she's taught that's part of all of our education here. We're a foodie hangout because we've got great bands to come out.
Absolutely.
So you mean if I come out here, not only I'll get good wine, but I'll get a gourmet food too? Not a meat and cheese board?
I mean, we have cheese boards, but
we've got cheese boards, and that's the staple. But I would say they're gourmet cheese boards. She put together a menu that is easy to execute and delicious, and it really matches up with the wines well.
We'll have to knock one of those out of the park here after this podcast. What do you say, Will? I think so.
Especially with finding mushrooms off this property.
I love it. Yeah.
She does scheduled fine dining with us. We would love to do fine dining, but with food costs, there would be too much waste and unpredictability. Right. So we do prepaid 5-course pairing dinners. And that's been one of we've been doing them for a long time. We did one for Valentine's Day, and it was during Snowmageddon. So we started calling people and telling them they didn't have to come, and all of them came.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
It was amazing.
It was 2 degrees out.
Yeah.
When we got up that morning to start getting the building prepped and warm it up, we only had one mini split installed and working in the tasting room because this was February of 21. So we'd only been open for 4 months.
Right.
And the people that showed up were awesome. Everybody came with a sense of humor. I think the maximum temperature that we got to in the tasting room was about 55 degrees.
That's awesome.
It was
bring your sweaters, folks.
And it was the coolest. I mean, this is when, as the social, they call me Julie McCoy, the cruise director. I was so happy on this day because I'm looking at this crowd of people that was willing to drive through the snow to get here. There was like a welding truck here. People came in all different kinds of vehicles. And then this is horse country up here on this side of 35 especially.
Okay.
So we had cowboy hats and the welding truck, and it was just a huge, cool mix of just awesome people.
That's really cool. Julie McCoy, I love that. That is an awesome reference. That's so cool. That's very good. So for our older crowd, maybe if you're under 30 years old, you may not get that one. But,
I think if you're under 50, you might not get that.
All you got to do is Google the Love Boat. You'll be fine.
Well, so my original question, though, was we have some great wines here as well. And indeed, the building is phenomenal. That's incredible. But maybe just showcase 1 or 2 wines real quick, both of you, if you'd like. Yeah. You just know are sensational, and you know that people come back time and time again to get these wines. I know this one. I'm enjoying this one right now very, very much. I suspect I'll have another glass later, but perhaps you can talk about that as well. And I know you're proud of that.
Just one glass?
Well, 1 glass at a time. I'm not a double fist.
No, we're not double fisted here.
No, I am actually really proud of that. The first time I made that, I pulled a couple of bottles out of a barrel sample. Literally 3 weeks after I had pressed it, and took it to a meeting at our North Texas wine community, and just put it out there, and they were the first ones to get drained. And I was super happy about that because this is a peer group,
right? And
everybody loved it.
Doesn't that make you feel good when they do that? And you're like, pop that collar, like, what's up? But you kind of like you got to kind of keep it in.
Well, no, actually, it was actually more like I'm looking at people go back up and keep hitting those bottles. I'm like, thank God they like it.
Right.
You know.
Well, you're a modest gentleman, but you should be extraordinarily proud of that. That's really cool. But I get that quiet assassin attitude. I like it.
You know, it's like, always.
I do it.
Yeah, it's always amazing when you make a wine. It's kind of like your child. You know, you get that child and you're like, this is my favorite one. And then you get another one, and you're like, oh, that's my favorite one. And the next thing you know, you got 12 or 15 kids. And you're like, every one of these are my favorite ones, but which one do I pick to be my favorite one?
For sure, yeah.
All depends on what time of day it is.
Yes.
It depends on the attitude.
Well, it's funny because people come in all the time and they're like, what's your favorite wine? What do you drink? I'm like, do you have kids? Yeah. Which one's your favorite?
And that's the same way having went in here. I was asked, what's my favorite wine? And I'm sitting there, and I literally said, it depends on the time of the day.
Absolutely.
I can't pick one, because one day I might want a Tempranillo for 1 hour. The second hour, I might want to do a Cab, or the next one down, I'll do a Syrah.
But in all fairness to my children who listen to this podcast, I love you all the same. Just so
don't let him fool y'all.
That sounds like gospel to me.
Okay, so as the marketing person, Willem will never tell you all this stuff about himself.
Right.
So I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, because my question is, I see your history about being a winemaker, and
I think I like Kristen's attitude here because Willem's being modest. He's not shy. He's a gentleman. He's taking care of us. But Kristen, take over. Let's hear about this amazing thing that's happening.
I met Willem in Vail, Colorado. I used to take my kids there in the summer, and he was this guy behind the scenes. His partner in a winery in Vail was my neighbor there every summer. And so he invited us to come bottle wine. And Willem was like always the guy that was doing the dishes. And I knew there was a winemaker there named Willem, but nobody ever introduced us. And we won't go into the history of all of it, but we never actually met each other for probably 6
It was five or six years.
Wow.
years.
You were doing the dishes the whole time.
Well, I mean, that's my official job title is chief bottle washer and trash taker outer.
But his partner never actually told me that Willem was. I knew there was a winemaker, but he never pointed him out and said that's the winemaker. But there were always all of these really interesting people at the winery. So Willem was not all that friendly. And so I just was like, whoever that guy is, I guess.
Right.
Like, I'll just go talk to this guy who was a forager or something. So we didn't, we didn't meet. And then when we did meet, obviously there were fireworks and a lot of things happened, but his wines were very good. They were different for me because I am I was a big California wine person. And so Willem uses a lot more like neutral wood, and his wines are old world, fruit forward. So that was kind of my first exposure to that style of winemaking. And then as we got to know each other, I don't know if you read this part of his history, but he was the wine program manager for Vail Resorts for 22 years. So he managed the wine for all the mountaintop restaurants.
Wow.
And he has had some really cool experiences, like drinking the wine that was recovered from the Titanic.
Stop it.
What? Seriously?
Whole podcast.
Yeah.
Podcast.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
That was a pretty fun dinner.
He's traveled the world drinking wines, and like to have somebody with his background and knowledge from all these perspectives, it's really enlightening. And he was working for an Italian wine importer in addition to having his winery in Vail when I met him. And it just gave me the bug to want to drink more Italian wines. And it also made his winemaking style so much more clear to me because it's way different. And I really lost my palate for these heavily oaked California wines once I started drinking all this Italian wine. And so I think for him here in this area, those varietals grow really well here. So it's a really good fit for him to make wine here. And it is different because a lot of people who are trained up here are trained more in the California style. And so you might love us or hate us. We're different, I think, in that sense.
Yeah.
So he's also the only Texas-based winemaker to ever make a wine that has won the San Francisco Chronicle Sweepstake Award.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that up front before you arrived. Well, the staff told us about that. That's impressive.
Awesome.
So he made the wine for another winery, and we just released our own version of that wine. So we're really looking forward to see how it does under our own label.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to you guys trying it before you take off today.
Absolutely. Well, we're not immune to that, are we?
Yeah, we're not really in a hurry.
No, we're not.
And it was interesting when he got the call from the San Francisco Chronicle because he actually hung up on him because he thought it was a joke.
Yeah, it was so typical.
I was listening to it and I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, somebody's messing with me.
Yeah, I just thought it was an old friend of mine from the restaurant business messing with me. And they called and they're like, we just want to tell you that you've won this award. And I'm like, who is this really? And they said, this is so-and-so from the San Francisco Chronicle. I'm like, no, I'm not buying this. And I hung up the phone. And they called right back. And I hung up the phone again.
Oh, twice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because my old friends from a restaurant I used to work at back on Nantucket, are notorious for that. And
those are good friends there.
Yeah.
phone rings again, third time. God love this woman for calling back. She goes, "This is San Francisco Chronicle. This is the phone number. You need to call me right back." And she hung up on me. And it was awesome. Like, oh no.
Oops.
I'm about to lose an award.
It was pretty funny. We had a pretty entertaining conversation after that.
That is hysterical.
That is. That's
you have buddies who mess with you. It's like the boy who cries wolf, right? All these other people mess with. I have buddies like that. I got a buddy sitting next to me like that. So, but then to find out that it was legit.
Nice deer in the headlights look.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's awesome. And so, Kristen, anything else you want to talk about when it comes to this wine maker and this gentleman? And you guys have a great coalition here. You're doing something important. And so, anything else you want to share on that?
Well, he has won a lot of different awards with his wines, whether under our brand or previous brands that he's worked on. Like he's made a wine that won the Grape Fest People's Choice Award, which surprised us in that case because a lot of the people were coming looking for a sweet wine, and
we ran out of it.
I think his forte is the education because he has so much experience as a somm. So he helped them understand with the white wine that they were sampling that it was actually didn't have any residual sugar, but the winemaking style was very fruit forward. So people thought that even though they usually like a sweet wine, their senses tricked them into thinking it was sweet because it smelled so sweet.
Interesting.
Because of the fruit. And so for me, I've learned a lot. I didn't think I liked rosé because I used to drink
Strawberry Hill
boxed wine.
Right.
So, and I said post-traumatic stress disorder from the 80s. And we went out one time and we went to this great restaurant and he ordered rosé. And I thought, this guy's a wine expert and he's ordering this crap. And it turned me on to this whole dry rosé thing. And we've created a whole educational program. It'll start next week up here. So he does a tasting flight of 4 rosés. One of them is ours. There's a Spanish Tempranillo that's been in production 35 years.
Almost 50 now.
And then there is an Italian Sangiovese that's been in production about 250.
245, 250
But the
years.
coolest one is a Grenache like our rosé, and it's a French Grenache in production for.
This year is going to be 848 years.
That is phenomenal.
And tell them why that winery was founded, because that's the cool.
Well, they
detail.
founded it after returning from one of the Crusades, from the first Crusade, and these guys all went down there and spent all their money in the war. Came home and had to try to finance.
Templar,
It
right?
was the Knights Templar, and they had to try to finance the next Crusade.
Wow.
So they started this winery and just made this incredible bone dry rosé.
Okay.
Called Chateau Parasol. And we do kind of shootout tastings with them. We put our wine up against these other wineries. And the first time we did it, Kristen's like, "Are you sure about this?"
I was like, you should pick some crappy ones and make sure that ours is a star.
That's the difference between you two right there. Confidence.
Exactly.
And then like learning that learning curve,
Yeah.
tipping point, kind of figuring it out. Let's start here. And that's so cute.
But it was funny because I was like, I feel like you might be overshooting with these. And then we sold the most of our rosé, and we did last year as well. So we'll see how it goes this year.
That's
but
awesome.
we do an all rosé pairing luncheon, which is really fun too, because there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know paired, like lamb and different things. I never thought about drinking it with a bone dry rosé, but we've created, I think, a really nice audience. When we see some of our most macho cowboys out here drinking pink, it makes me feel so good.
That
like
is classic.
we've accomplished something.
Indeed.
Well, and we titled if you guys come out next weekend or sometime in the next month, because we'll do this tasting over the course of a month. The heading on the menu is, "Are you sexually secure enough to drink pink wine?"
I am. I mean, I love me some Rosé Tempranillo and some Rosé Grenache. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I love that.
You and I need to be best friends because your sense of humor is absolutely spectacular. I love that. That's really hysterical. Are you man enough? Are you comfortable with your sexuality? Right? Yeah. So drink some wine.
So since you talked about it, go ahead and give us a little, shout out about it, because you said for the next month, right?
Well, yeah, we'll start it. Typically, we do it in March, and because I haven't had enough help in the cellar, I'm still looking for a couple of cellar hands. If anybody's out there that's looking for work, wants to have fun drinking wine,
I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's promote this.
come see us.
This will go out in 2 weeks.
Cool. Can we do it tomorrow?
Post it tomorrow. Will, you're on, buddy.
So basically for the month of April, We'll do this rosé flight tasting. We'll have a luncheon. We're going to do the luncheon. It's either 3 or 4 weeks. I can look at the calendar to double check that because I drink for a living, so you can never listen to me really. And it's just a celebration of rosé. Rosé to me it's one of the oldest forms of winemaking. And when it's done right, it's a very pale wine. It's bone dry, but you get all the fruit out of this grape. And you can make a rosé wine out of almost any red grape, with the possible exception of Lenoir. Okay. Or Yaquez, which is a Texas varietal, actually. Right. It's that wine bleeds red. Most wines, most grapes, even red grapes, black grapes, will bleed clear juice. Right. But you squish this grape in your fingers, and it's already so dark. I don't think I could make a rosé out of it.
Interesting.
So
okay. So with that being said, I'm looking around here. I don't see a vineyard. Where do you get y'all's grapes at?
We buy our fruit as much as we can from vineyards around Texas. Okay. I would love to get 100% Texas fruit. I am a maker, not a grower. Right. I've worked vineyards before. I choose not to do it because I don't have a black thumb, but I don't necessarily have a green thumb either. I grow tomato plants reasonably well, and I've been known to kill aloe plants. So I leave the
kill cactus plants, then we have a problem.
Right. Yeah.
Also, you really can't do it. So.
That's very good. That's pretty good. Great analogy. I love it.
So I leave the cash crop up to the professionals, frankly.
Great question, my friend.
Yeah.
That was good.
So with that being said, I did look. I might actually try to have this out for you on the 26th of March. So that way it'd be out there for all of April.
Yeah. We'll promote.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
You guys should really come out for that. It's one of my favorite. Well, I have a Day of the Dead party that I love too, but I think the rosé thing is my favorite. Yeah, that is in October.
So when is it? You said when in April?
The date escapes me right now because we just changed it, but I'll give you.
We had to push it back because of the bottling situation.
Okay. Let us know.
I will, for sure.
We'll do everything we can to make it out here.
Thank you.
So one of the notes I had here, this actually comes from my wife. I guess she's interviewing people out there in the tasting room, but she said that the name of this winery. Can you tell me about that? Why was it named this?
Oh, I know.
Why does he chuckle before he?
I don't know.
Well, it's comical to me because Kristen let me build a building out of shipping containers. Okay. She's let me do basically whatever I wanted for this project. In return, I'm her slave. And she takes
looked at over here
for the name of the winery. So Kristen let me design this on a cocktail napkin and build it. I've been trying to get her to read this book for years, but we just haven't had a chance. We don't have any time to read at this point. So it's the name of the winery is the last name of my favorite character in one of my favorite books. It's called The Gunslinger by Stephen King. And that's where the whole post-apocalyptic Old West concept comes from.
Right.
Still have no idea what that really means, but it sounds cool. And that's just what the book evokes to me. Mm-hmm. And when we got out here and we started looking around at this property, the property is rotten with hawks. I mean, there's hawks here. We see dozens of them every day. It's kind of awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
And the hawk figures prominently in the backstory of Roland Deschain, who's the gunslinger. And we were driving down to Fredericksburg to my house down there and listening to the book on tape. And there's this line that comes across as the hawk is God's gunslinger. And it kind of hit us right then. Like that's what we're going to name the winery. And that'll be the icon for the winery. And you see them on the glasses and you'll see it on the labels.
That is impressive. Yeah. I like that.
So my wife sent me that question and she knows I'm a Stephen King nutcase, kind of like a wine nutcase. And so I saw that. I had to ask that question. So that is where they come from. So very creative.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I've probably worn out a dozen copies of that book.
Oh yeah.
Well, you need to get an Audible then, and you need to download.
Oh no, I'm an old fashioned guy. I want to turn a page.
Yeah, me too. That's what I am.
I love reading books also, but it usually don't last but 30 seconds. And then I'm passed out.
Well, that's actually a good way to put yourself to sleep. Don't need anything else, right? Yeah. So you want to do that? Get a chemistry textbook and read that.
Yeah, I'll be right out. 5 seconds then.
So one of the last things we're going to talk about is one thing I've noticed here is that you are making a lot of things. You made this facility. You're making your wines. You're doing some great things with food. And one of the things I noticed my wife sent me was that you guys made all the seats and you were kind of creative. You're creating something here on your own. Why? What is it? Why is that important to you?
Because I'm cheap.
We did. We
a great profound answer.
I like that.
we ran out of money, and we're like, we need light fixtures. We need a banquette. We learned how to do a lot of things. We made all our own tables.
You know, when you're in a desperate mode, you figure out how to do things.
Oh, there's always a solution.
Yeah.
There's always a solution. You find a way to go over, under, around any problem in your way.
Flashlights and have it set up on a power switch.
Right?
Awesome. Right? That's so fantastic, though. What do I answer? The deepest answer of the night. Well, you guys get to really wrap this up here. We're going to do an educational portion as well. But, tell us more about what you got going on. If I were to come back here in a couple of years, okay, and I'll be back before then, don't worry. I may not even leave. I might just stay right here.
The banquette's pretty comfortable, actually.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that kind offer.
And we're very tornado secure in this building.
Yes, you are. Yeah, this building's not going anywhere, is it? So what am I going to see here, Willem, in the next few years?
Well, I want to keep refining the program. I've made a lot of different styles of wine because coming from a somm background before I really started truly making wine, gave me a lot of different perspectives. I have a lot of different ideas about blending and so forth. And right now there's only one blend on our wine list, and that's really my forte. These barrels that are right next to us over here, there's 3 more blends in the works coming out. Things that I've been making now since 1990, 1991.
Wow.
And they're a ton of fun. And those are the wines that I'm the most proud of because they have the staying power, and all our clients have supported those wines throughout the years.
Yeah, it's incredible. And so when we come back here, you're going to see, we're going to see an expansion at all. Are you guys thinking about doing anything in that regard? I mean, your wines are outstanding. We just had a great glass of it. But what are some of your other, you guys are doing a great job, Chris, with marketing and with bands. And we talked about comedy earlier, but what's that grand vision? What do you want to see in this?
Are you going to build another shipping container building?
Not if I want to keep my significant other, I don't think.
What if she wants to?
Well, she wants to. And she may flip-flop on that just like she did the last time, because the first answer was hell no, we're not building this out of shipping containers.
Then I went back for my 30-year high school reunion, and I went to Green Jeans in Albuquerque, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And I came around to it, but we looked at adding a kitchen on, and we after we opened, and we were shocked at how expensive the shipping containers are now after the pandemic, because there was no inbound shipping containers during the pandemic. So they're like 3 or 4 times more expensive. So
they're actually more like 5 to 10 times as expensive as they were. It's crazy. People are just carpetbagging.
We definitely did it at the right time.
Yeah. Good move there. Awesome. Will, did you want to wrap that up real quick, buddy?
Well, I think we're actually pretty good here. So we do talk about one of our sponsors here.
Yeah.
So are y'all familiar with the Texas Wine Lover app?
Yes.
You are. So what do y'all like about the app?
Well, Jeff has done an amazing job advocating for all the Texas wineries. I think that it's a needed app because there's so many now that people don't really have a strong idea of who's doing what.
Yeah.
Right. So I think his directory is doing a great job of helping people sort out how to plan a trip.
Yeah,
right
before the pandemic happened, we had about 450 wineries in Texas.
Yeah, right about that.
And then when the pandemic hit, y'all are one of those statistics,
right?
That now there are about 900 to 950 wineries, and it's hard to keep track of all those. I mean, you only do so much of it, and that's probably one of the best things I love about the app, because if you're going into a different region of the state, you want to find a winery, you can go to that region, you can look, and then you can nail it down to what city you're going to be in, and you can find a winery.
Well, and Jeff's a mainstay. He figured it out very early on, and I think he's the best resource for what's going on with Texas wine.
Yeah,
there you go. There's some advertising. I like that. Yeah. All right, Jeff, you're welcome, my friend. That's awesome.
Jeff and Amy are
Amy's
great
we've been working with big time. She's wonderful.
We talk to Amy quite often. In fact, I think, actually, I sent a little gift to Amy the other day. Do we just become best friends?
Yeah. Well, in our first podcast next weekend, down with Amy down in Johnson City.
Yeah, she's going to be on our show all next weekend.
That'll be fun.
Oh, that's great.
She actually scheduled all the our shows for next week.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Well, yeah, we're really proud of that association and that collaboration as well, and that's just awesome. So, we're grateful, and you guys have been amazing. Any last moments?
Yeah, any final thoughts?
Yeah.
Actually, do you have dates now for your little event in April?
We're going to do that on April 16th.
April
Yes.
16th.
Sunday,
That's a
April
big day.
16th for the
Put it in your
rosé
calendar.
luncheon.
And where do they go sign up for it? How much is it going to be?
They can go to DeschainCellars.com. All of the events are on the homepage, so they can click on the link on the homepage. And it's a price fixed menu, but we may not have the whole menu
No,
yet.
the pricing for that's going to be, it's $105 per person for the luncheon. And it'll be 6 courses with a welcome toast, and then just some really great wines. We'll be showing off 2 of our rosés.
So that includes the food and the wine pairing.
So when you say welcome toast, it's not like a piece of toast in the oven, right? Or
No.
like a glass of wine and
It'll be a liquid toast.
A little more elaborate.
It'll be a liquid toast.
Well, Kristen, so that's going to be, where can everyone reach you? Give us all the opportunities for our listeners to reach out to you folks and to, come see you.
like, include your telephone number like Roxanne tried to give out to us.
No. Don't do that.
So the best place to find us is DeschainCellars.com.
Okay.
I created this URL that Willem hates, but a lot of people don't know how to spell Deschain, and some try to spell Cellars with an S. So, so I said, let's make an easy domain that forwards. And so you can get to us by funwinery.com.
Oh, okay.
And that's easier to remember.
God, we asked. That's good.
Well, it's kind of like, when we was at Bingham and she said Bingham Winery.wine. And I'm like,
Yeah, .wine. We learned something.
and I
Yeah.
literally had to sit there and actually pull it up to make sure it actually worked, and it did.
Awesome. Well, we're excited about everyone coming to visit you, and we hope that this podcast will help to, just really enhance what you have going on here. We want you to meet thousands of people because of this awesome opportunity.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Actually, and y'all going to be actually at the Gainesville Wine Stroll on April the 1st, aren't you?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the inaugural wine stroll.
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
be there as well doing a live
Yeah.
broadcast. So, well, listen, that's thank you guys. We're going to finish up our portion 1 of this podcast real quick, and we'll be back in a minute.
Yep.
Howdy, Texas. This is Erica, Michael's wife, and a fellow wine enthusiast. I hope you are enjoying the We Know Texas Vino podcast as much as I am. Will and Michael are doing a fabulous job highlighting our local wineries and tapping into the knowledge of local growers. Fill up your glass as we dive into our educational segment for this episode. Salute.
Well, welcome back, everyone. We're here for the educational portion of this podcast. We're excited to be here with Willem and Kristen, and of course, Will and Michael. We're going to have a great time here. So today's educational topic, Will, what is it going to be?
About fermentation.
Fermentation. We've both been wanting to learn more about this. So
you don't have to go into like all the full details and all like that, but I mean, give us the high level, because I mean, the people that are going to be listening to this are not the people who are going to go sit there and go out and grow their own grapes and go to pick them and then start doing their own stuff in the house, but just kind of give the high level of it, tell people about the process,
Sure. Fermentation's in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. If I was going to encapsulate it in a one-liner, it's low temperature cooking.
Okay.
That's all it is. You can leave a trash can full of grapes in the sun for a week and you'll have wine. Technically, you'll have wine. It won't be very good, but
I was going to
technically,
say, can that trash can be clean when we do that?
probably ought to be, because everything on the planet eats sugar. Right. So there'll be a lot of things in that trash can. But really what we're doing is we're controlling a process where you've got all these little yeast guys that are super hungry. Mm-hmm. They're dormant when we get them. There's a lot of guys that'll do wild yeast fermentations. I don't do that. I buy a cultured yeast. I do custom blend my own yeast for my wines because in an effort to make some money in the wine game, which is hard enough to begin with, I don't want to have an uncontrollable wild fermentation on yeast that isn't proven. Right. And there's guys out there that do it that swear by it, and they are much bolder and much braver than I am. But really, all you've got is these little yeasts that wake up. It's kind of like sea monkeys in a way. You do, because you do a start on them within a bucket of grape juice, and you let them go active. And then you inoculate your crushed fruit with that. Well, if you're doing reds, because reds and whites are made 2 different ways. Right. Reds you want to crush and macerate in their own juices, and that's where the color comes from, because it steeps all the anthocyanins out of the skins, which is the color compounds. With whites, you crush them and press them all in a go, basically right away, because that way you want to have whites that are super clear, and as pale. Well, I like to get them as pale as I can. But it's really a patience game, because you inoculate the juice or you inoculate the fruit. Red wines are fermented on their skins, again, to that low temperature cooking to pull out more and more color and more richness. Mm-hmm. And the short of it is the yeast consumes the sugar and it gives off alcohol and CO2.
Interesting.
So
fermenting.
Yeah.
So when you make a dry wine, is it because you leave the yeast in there and it consumes all the sugar out of it?
You ferment it to ferment something to dryness means, yes, you want to leave the yeast in long enough so it'll consume all the sugar. There's no residual sugar left.
Interesting.
There's always a little bit of residual sugar. And it really depends on what varietal you're working with and how the yeast performs, because sooner or later the alcohol will kill the yeast.
Okay.
So it's a fun life form, but it's very short life form.
Okay.
That's cool. That's so interesting, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it's so deep. I mean, there's some real science behind it.
And that's the whole reason behind this podcast, because first off, we want to get to know the wineries and showcase Texas wines, but we also want to help educate people, because, me personally, I love to learn. And if you don't learn, you're not living, and there's so much to learn about winemaking and drinking wine and everything like that.
Yeah, but we've said this a couple times. Half of this enjoyment is that we get to learn so much. We get to not only meet great people, but we get to learn so much. So I just learned a valuable lesson right there. It was very, very good.
That's awesome.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for that. Anything else on fermenting you want to talk about?
Don't rush it. Anybody that's out there that wants to try, you can make wine at home.
Right.
Anybody can make wine.
Yep. You can't use table grapes.
You can, but it's not gonna. Yeah, vinegar. You should really use vinegar grapes.
Yeah, refer to Edge of the Lake podcast for that one.
Right. You just have to take your time.
Right.
Because it's kind of like us predicting the weather. We can't predict the weather.
Yep.
We can guess. We can make educated guesses.
Yep.
We can't predict it.
Yep.
Wine is very similar. Fermentation is very similar, because just when you think you've got it figured out and you think you're in control, something will go sideways.
Right. And that's
you just have
everybody.
That's right. Yeah, it's the one thing you can't control, right?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for that, Willem. Appreciate it very much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kristen,
Thanks for coming out,
guys.
guys.
Been an amazing couple here, and we're just so excited to be here. Every time I come to a new one, I get inspired. I want to come back and enjoy it for sure. It's been so much fun.
We always enjoy coming to a new winery and learning about the people.
Yeah. It's been a treat.
Yeah, it's always is.
Yeah, well, Will, real quick wrap up. How can people reach out to us?
Well, you can find us on Facebook at We Know Texas Vino, and coming soon, our website.
That's right. And that's going to be done really soon, right?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
You're working on it.
I'm working on it,
Awesome.
And then you can find us on any podcast station.
Absolutely.
Stitcher, Apple Tunes.
Right.
iTunes, is Apple iTunes?
There's something out there. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
people can Google it.
Spotify and Pandora. So,
right.
And then for y'all, one more time, tell people how they can find y'all.
DeschainCellars.com or funwinery.com. Even though Willem hates my little thing, I thought it was easier to type in.
I'm warming up to it. Okay. And Kristen's got us all over Facebook.
Awesome.
And most of social media.
Awesome.
So we do a lot of events, and we have a weekly newsletter that updates you on all of our events. Facebook, Instagram, and our website.
Cool. Awesome. We'll sign up for that letter. That'd be great. Well, thank you guys. Well, takeaways, Will. It's been fun here. You get the first takeaway today, and we're here having a fun time. What is your takeaway?
My takeaway here is, if I want to build a shipping container building, ask questions before I start building.
Very good.
And listen to the advice.
Utilize your resources. Yeah. Mine's a little deeper, I think, and that is that we meet all these great people, and I think today we met two awesome people.
Yes.
And to me, it gives me great excitement about the future of wines in Texas, and just having the good people who are willing to be ambitious and get out of their comfort zones and to take a chance. But even opening during COVID is so exciting to me to think that people are willing to do that. And so for me, meeting both of you gives me great hope, and I'm so excited and enthusiastic about what's going to happen in the next 5, 10, even 20 years here in this great state of Texas. And it's going to be a lot that has to do with what you guys are doing right now. So thanks for that. That's my takeaway today. So
awesome.
Yahoo. So listen, I do a quote every week to wrap up our show, and I've got one. It's very simple, this one, but I think it'll make Will smile. My goal is always to make Will smile. So my quote is from Alexander Fleming: "Penicillin cures, but wine makes people happy." How's that sound? All right. Quote of the week. So love that. So anyway, we've had a great time here. This is podcast number 11. Will, anything else?
Nope. But this is Will.
This is Michael.
And this is We Know Texas Vino
another
podcast.
day. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
All right. Salute.
Cheers.